Welcome back to the Raindrop. It's been a minute since I've made a video at all. I was trying to get, as you can see, I've got a new Blue Yeti mic using my Skull Candy crushers so I can hear my feedback. And I also got a Logitech HD camera. The camera that comes on the laptop was so grainy and fuzzy. It was night and day difference getting the Logitech here. So what I wanted to discuss today on this episode is Operation Northwoods as well as the Gulf of Tonkin incident. You guys that have followed me on Facebook or listened to previous rants, y'all have heard me talk about different operations that the government's involved in to conspire to push their narratives, to push their agendas, whether it's what the American people want or not. The government shows its hand time after time, decade after decade, that they do not care about you and me. They care about their bottom line. So with Operation Northwoods was a proposed false flag operation against American citizens that originated within the U.S. Department of Defense of the United States government in 1962. The proposals called for the CIA operatives to both stage and actually commit acts of terrorism against American military and civilian targets, blaming them on the Cuban government and using it to justify a war against Cuba. The possibilities detailed in the document included the possible assassination of Cuban immigrants, sinking boats of Cuban refugees on the high seas, hijacking planes to be shot down or given the appearance of being shot down. Remember that one. That being in those documents gives me chills, and I will elaborate later in the video. So, also, they were going to blow up a U.S. ship and orchestrating violent terrorism in U.S. cities. Also remember that. The proposals were rejected by President John F. Kennedy. In my opinion, since I started getting political, digging into our country's history, I would have to say that Kennedy was probably the last good president we had, even though his presidency is shrouded in corruption as well. He had ties, him and his family had ties to the mafia. The mafia allegedly got him in. Allegedly, when his son died, he decided to flip and go after the bad guys. That's the working theory. But that would be, and even then, that's sad to say that John Kennedy was the best president because he was literally endorsed by the mob. So we'll get back to this. Fidel Castro had taken power in Cuba in 1959 and began allowing communists into the new Cuban government, nationalizing U.S. businesses and improving relations with the Soviet Union, arousing the concerns of the U.S. military due to the Cold War. The operation proposed creating public support for a war against Cuba by blaming it for terrorist acts that would actually be perpetrated by the U.S. government. To this end, Operation Northwoods proposals recommended hijackings and bombings, followed by the introduction of phony evidence that would implicate the Cuban government. It stated, the desired result from the execution of this plan would be to place the United States in the apparent position of suffering defensible grievances from a rash and irresponsible government of Cuba and to develop an international image of a Cuban threat to peace in the Western Hemisphere. Several other proposals were included within Operation Northwoods, including real or simulated actions against various U.S. military and civilian targets. The operation recommended developing a communist Cuban terror campaign in the Miami area, in other Florida cities, and even in Washington, which involved the bombing of civilian targets themselves, which was to be blamed on the irresponsible Cuban government to paint a false flag image of Fidel Castro and misinform the American public. Now, that is Wikipedia. Oh, Rain, that's Wikipedia. You're using Wikipedia. Okay. Unclassified or declassified documents. Okay? Oh, Rain, that's still on Wikipedia. Blah, 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 blah. Okay. Catalog.archives.gov. There's 181 pages. of this. I mean, people will go to any depths to deny the reality that they actually live in. And I don't understand it. Your government will conspire to kill you if it benefits their bottom line. That is the bottom line. Your government does not care about you. You are a useful idiot. You are a pawn to do their bidding, to go fight their wars so they can get another oil field. So, this would be, the plan was drafted by the Joint Chiefs of Staff, signed by Chairman Lyman Lemnitzer, and sent to the Secretary of Defense. Although part of the U.S. government's anti-communist Cuban project, Operation Northwoods was never officially accepted. It was authorized by the Joint Chiefs of Staff. It was authorized by these people. If the president didn't shoot it down, you have a false flag event. And we invade Cuba because everybody buys this narrative that we were attacked. Okay? Or origins and public release. You can go more into it if you would like. I'm not going to sit here and read all this. That would be very time consuming, and I don't want to bore anyone with too many details. But that is the gist of it. So you can feel free. I've now planted the seed. If you are interested enough, go do some more digging. Here's another one. I remember learning about this in high school. The Gulf of Tonkin incident. I just showed you Operation Northwoods, where your government wanted to perform a false flag to drum up support for an invasion of Cuba, an overthrow of Cuba. So I just showed you that. That is fact. Here's the Gulf of Tonkin incident. The Gulf of Tonkin incident was an international confrontation that led to the United States engaging more directly in the Vietnam War. It involved both a proven confrontation on August 2, 1964, carried out by North Vietnam forces in response to covert operations in the coastal region of the Gulf. So, they attacked us originally in response to our covert operations in their coastal region. So, already provoking them. And a second claimed confrontation on the August 4th, 1964, between ships of North Vietnam and the United States in the waters of the Gulf of Tonkin. Original American claims blamed North Vietnam for both attacks. Later investigation revealed that the second attack never happened. Never happened, just poof. Made up out of clean air. We're just going to say it did. And it'll go in the history books. Let's see here. The American claim that had based mostly on erroneously interpreted communications intercepts. They came out and said that. Let's see here. On August 2nd, 1964, the destroyer USS Maddox, while performing a signals intelligence patrol as part of DeSoto operations, was approached by 3 Vietnam People's Navy torpedo boats of the 135th Torpedo Squadron. The Maddox fired warning shots, and the North Vietnamese boats attacked with torpedoes and machine gun fire. In the ensuing engagement, one U.S. aircraft, which had been launched from an aircraft carrier, USS Ticonderoga, which was damaged. 3 North Vietnamese torpedo boats were damaged, and 4 North Vietnamese sailors were killed, with 6 more wounded. There were no U.S. casualties. Maddox was unscathed except for a single bullet hole from a Vietnamese machine gun round. So see here, we're going to skip down. The commander of the Maddox Task Force, Captain John Herrick, reported that the ships were being attacked by North Vietnamese boats. In fact, there were no North Vietnamese boats present. That's kind of hard to say that 5 times fast. North Vietnamese boats. While Herrick soon reported doubts regarding the task force's initial perceptions of the attack, the Johnson administration relied on erroneously interpreted National Security Agency communications intercepts to conclude that the attack was real. So, While doubts regarding the perceived second attack had been expressed since 1964, it was not until years later that it was shown conclusively never to have happened. In the 2000 documentary, The Fog of War, the former United States Secretary of Defense Robert S. McNamara admitted that an attack on the USS Maddox happened on August 2nd, but the August 4th attack, for which Washington authorized retaliation, never happened. Never happened. So we went in there, and that was our claim to fame for Vietnam, was this attack that never happened. Okay? So, I'm going to go back to Operation Northwoods. So, Operation Northwoods, I'm going to refresh your memory from 10 minutes ago. This was a false flag proposed by our government to blow up planes and kill United States citizens to drum up support for the war and invasion of Cuba. Okay? What happened 40 years, almost to the year? Okay? What happened 40 years later after that proposal? What do you want me to do with that? What do you want me to do with that? What do you expect me to think? When the government is laying out these plans in documents that you can read, and then this happens 40 years later? Kennedy shot it down. What happened if there was a Joe Biden in office, a George Bush in office, an Obama in office? Here you go. You got it. So you can say that's reaching, you can say that's stretching, but that correlates to me. I can't help but have a deep-seated distrust in our government when they're actively, for decades, conspiring to kill their own people to push an agenda. In the September 11th attack, after 9/11, I learned this the other day. One of the, I can't remember his name, I'll have to do some digging and go back and rewatch the video, but there was some advisor to George Bush after 9/11. They're sitting in their swanky cabin, all these, Condoleezza Rice's and all these people are sitting in this cabin beside a comfy, cozy fire. George is drinking his coffee, and this bureaucratic weasel, whatever his name is, comes weaseling up to George Bush and goes, if we were to invade Iraq and the northern hemisphere and the southern hemisphere where the oil fields are, we will take away Saddam's power and basically make him the what's the term he used? The mayor of Baghdad. So they'll turn Saddam into the mayor of Baghdad. When we were attacked by Afghanistan, you're going into Iraq, but it was bin Laden that did that. So why are we going into Iraq? Oh, there's oil, there's resources. Oh no, we can't have the people over there having control of it. We need to have control of it. And my uncles, my cousins, my nephews are going to be sent to fight that. We're not in any legitimate threat. There was no weapons of mass destruction. But my cousins got sent over there. My uncles got sent over there to nation build. It's disgusting. It's absolutely disgusting. And it makes my damn blood boil that our government does this decade after decade after decade. World War II, Japan was slaughtering a bunch of Chinese. We sanctioned the hell out of them. They didn't call it a sanction back then, I don't think, but it was a sanction. I just watched a video on it and they did not call it a sanction. They called it something else. But I watched it last night. I was watching some World War II history. Literally, we put sanctions on them, on their oil and their exports, so they felt backed into a corner. Does that sound familiar to what's being done now? We are sanctioning the hell out of Russia. Are they going to feel backed into a corner and retaliate? If history shows, yes they will. And that's the raindrop. Y'all have a good day.